Hi, my name is Eric. Welcome. In this tutorial, I am going to discuss about SQL Union Operator. So the union operator is used to combine the result set of two or more queries. And when I say queries, I mean select statements. Okay, so there are a couple of rules that govern us. Okay, one of them, or the first one, is the columns in every select statement must be in the same order. Number two is every select statement with union must have the same number of columns. And the last one but not least, the columns must have similar data type. And we are going to discuss about union, union or, intersect, and except. And this is the representation of these. So you have query 1, query 2, union is a combination of both. You have query 1, query 2, union all returns all the records on query 1 and all the records on query 2, and we'll see the difference. The third one is intersect. As the word is, it returns only the records that intersect between the two queries. And except means returns the records on query 1 except on query 2. I understand that you're trying to figure out what's going on. So I'd like to take you to SQL Server Management Studio, to the database, and write these queries so that you can understand better. So to begin with, I don't want to spend much of the time, but what I did is I created this SQL script, and I'll go through it line by line and explain what it does. And technically what it does is the first line number 1, it uses master, and the line number 5, it checks if the database with a name C9 underscore office supplies exists. Okay, and if it does not exist, we are going to create that database. Okay, once the database has been created, we are going to use the database. Okay, and all the databases really are created on a master database. So once this database has been created, we can use the database. Okay, so once we use the database, here the next step is to check if T1 table exists, and this is the command which will help us to do that. If you run this, really it should return, for me here it doesn't return anything. So let me run this first and see what the X type here. So it looks like I don't have the database with T1, and I think it's working on the master database right now. So if I change this to use office supplies, it may return some results, but that's fine. I'll show you guys later in a few minutes. But right now it's accessing master because I haven't run this script, but I do have the database already. So I ran it earlier. I ran the script earlier, and I do have all these tables. That's why surprised it wasn't showing up. But if you do this, and I can show you now, execute, and if I select this, I should be able to see that database. And X type, the type is U, that means that's user database. So if this exists, it doesn't do anything. It's just gonna go ahead and skip to run this. If it does not exist, so if this is the first time, really, you can go ahead and curate the database. But once you run this to check the database, in short, if it, the table, if the table does not exist, it will create the table with 2 columns, name and country. And then you're gonna check if T2 exists, and then if it does not exist, it will create the table. Okay, so once the table has been created, my assumption is there's no data, but this code really helps you to not run into issues, or really not to insert duplicates if you run this script multiple times. So to go ahead and delete the records and then insert a couple of records for you. There are about 4 of them, and then to delete everything in table 2 and insert new records here to table 2, and then it will select all the records in table 1 and table 2. So in reality, if you run all the script, all you should see is result set of table 1 and result set of table 2. So these are the result set, and you're gonna use SQL Union Operator to combine these result set to be in one result set. Yeah. So to use this to combine both of these. One is name and country, and the other one is just name. What else here? When I'm speaking, I'm gonna modify my script a little bit. It doesn't make any difference, to be honest, but I just want to be uniform here. And okay, great. So in reality, what it does is this T1 has 2 columns, and table 2 T2 has 1 column, which is name. And then after that, if you run this multiple times, the result set won't change, because you're deleting the records every time before inserting anywhere, unless if you just execute this statement here by itself. But anyways, my code is good now. I do have my rows, and let's go ahead and start seeing how to work with these operators. And one more time, I'm gonna, just in case if you want to stop and record or to take a screenshot, if you're gonna be following, I'll be showing in a bit, so that you can pause and do that on your own, or else I'll send this script to you if you guys need them. So this is the first one, which checks if the database exists. If it does not exist, it will create the database. Then we're gonna use the database. Of course, before you create, you can use master. And then line 25 to 29, what it does is it checks if table 1 exists, and if it doesn't, it will create that table 1. And here we do have name and country as column. And then same thing for second table. It checks if the table 2 exists. If it doesn't exist, it will create the table with 1 column. And of course, this inserts the records. This deletes the records from table 1. This deletes the records from table 2, and this inserts the records into table 2. And these, they are just select statements. So also use C9 office supplies go, and I do have table 1 and table 2. So I just select from T1 and select from T2. So before continue anything, I would like to go through the rules I mentioned earlier. Okay, so these are the rules here, and let's go one by one and understand what they really are, so that whenever you're following this tutorial, you know exactly where you're going wrong. Okay, so I just use union to combine, but the first rule says the column in every statement must be in the same order. Okay, so here really, if you do union, so I'm just gonna, instead of select all, I just select both of them here, and because I do have really two columns in table 1 and one in table 2, so let me add it, table 2. So this actually, if first of all, let me start from scratch and I'll show you. So if I do this, select table 1, select all, table 2, this means I'm selecting all the columns from table 1 and all the columns from table 2. So this is going to fail. And why is it failing? Because it breaks the rule number 2 here. And this, don't worry about the order. Really, I just made them up. But rule number 2, it says every select statement with union must have the same number of columns. So if you take a look at our data here, table 1 has 2 columns, table 2 has 1 column. So that's gonna break and you're gonna run into issues. And you're gonna get an error message here which says all queries combined using a union, intersect, or except operator must have an equal number of expressions in their target list. So expression, they mean columns here, they have to be equal. So you can either do this name and name to fix that issue, and this will work. You see, and you'll get all the names from table 1 and table 2. Let's take a look again. So table 1 and table 2, fine engine are repetitive, so you do have fine engine, and then you do have Alex, Mary, Evelyn, and Ibrahim. So if I do that, I fix that. And if I want to include the country, really, I can include the country. And in here, I'm gonna have to do something like this, just to make sure that we have 2 columns. But because if we do this, we're gonna run into the same issue that number of columns are not the same. So if I do this, this will work. And you can see country, it's null, and everyone else has a country here coming from table 1. So let's go and look another rule. Must have similar data type. Oh yeah, let's go to number 1. The columns in every select statement must be in the same order. How do we do that? Okay. So if we try to interchange these, really, something like this, you won't get something meaningful, and especially if they do have a data type, I don't advise. Watch. So we see we get the names here and then the country here, but these are names from table 2 really are now in table 1. Okay, so they're all mixed with countries, which breaks another rule. That's why I say must the columns in every statement must be in the same order. So if you start with country and then name, then in every query you need to do the same thing. You need to go in the same order. Okay, and last one but not least, it's the data type. So here I know we do have country, and let me fake it. I'm gonna give it like an age here. Our columns that do have very few columns, but what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create another column with age, and maybe I'll put maybe 41, and then this one here is country, which really we created was varchar, if not mistaken. Yeah, so as you can see, the data type is varchar, and I create a new column on table 2, which is an age. This is like a demo data to just see or to show you guys that you're gonna run into issues if you do something like this. If you try to combine 2 columns with different data type, and the error message says conversion failed when converting the varchar value Qatar into data type int. So it's trying to change that. It's trying to convert Qatar country into data type, and it mentions Qatar because it's the first one in the list, or on the list. Okay, so if I execute, I'm gonna get into error. So now we know the rules, so we have to play by the rules, and let's now understand what this does. So what union does really, it combines, you can see, results from query 1 and query 2. And when we execute this, we get all the names from table 1 and table 2. And you can take a look at this table 1 and table 2. And you can take a screenshot so that you don't have to go back and forth and execute the script, so that you know what names are contained in there. Okay, so but now, as you can see here, if you observe, fine is appearing twice, fine and Jean, but in my union, it just the name appear once. Why? Because union, it just combines the result set from both queries. But if you want to show all the records in query 1 and all in query 2, what do we use? You guessed that right. We use union all. So union all helps us to return duplicates. So if your goal is to return duplicates, really you need to use union all. So here, if I do this, and all I need to say is union all, now I'll see Jean multiple 2 times and find 2 times. Let's see. Here we are. We do have find, and we do have fine again. We do have Jean, and we do have Jean. Okay, so that's the major difference between union and union all. Union all returns all queries individual, so if there are some duplicates, it's gonna still return, while union eliminates those duplicates. Okay, great. So let's move on to intersect. As you can see, intersect brings the results, combine the results, and you can only display the results that are on both queries. So going back to my environment, executing, when I do intersect, I'm expecting to only see Jean and fine. Let's see that in action. So when I do this, let me say intersect. Intersect. Can I do this? Intersect. Oh, yeah. Helps. I was trying to combine it. Intersect and intercept. That was a good one. Okay, so intersect. Really, we're expecting to see Gene and find because that's where they intersect. They belong to both queries. And voila, that's our result. And then we do have the last one, which is accept. So accept is really tricky. Not per se, but I'll explain. Okay. So in here, I'll change this to accept. So table 1 except table 2, what I'm expecting really is all the records in table 1 that are not in table 2. So here we do have Grace and Alex. That's what I'm expecting. Let's see. Grace and Alex. Great. And the other thing I'm expecting is, so if I interchange this, T2 except T1, so all the results in table 1 but not in table 2, in table 2 but not in table 1. Let's take a look again. So this is the table 2. So you're going to return Mary, Evelyn, and Ibrahim, but not Jean and Fine. Okay, so these, if you interchange these two statements, they don't return the same results. Here I'm expecting to see the top 3, Mary, Evelyn, and Ibrahim. And voila, that's right. So it's as simple as that. In this video, we are discussing SQL Union Operator, where we discussed about union, union, intersect, and accept. But before I leave you guys, I will show you one more thing here. So let's say you want to order by these results. As you can see, okay, so this need the order by already. So let's find something which is not ordered. Yeah, this is not ordered. So if you like to order by, you cannot do something like this. Maybe order by name, and you can see this is comparing. You have to order by at the end of the second query. So you're gonna combine the results, and what you're doing is really ordering. And then here you'll see. And where clause, if you have where clause, really you can just put somewhere here, and you can put in a second statement after 2 as well. So I can say where name like E. Meaning first name contains E. So this should work. And let's see, you see that works. It returns all the records. So let me do maybe ends with E. So I want to return just 2 records here, just to show you this works. So right now I do have Fine and Grace, and if you intercept with or do you know with table 2, pretty much you're gonna return Fine. You're gonna return everything in table 2 and these 2 in table 1. Nice. So as you can see, Alex has not been returned. Why? Because Alex name doesn't end with an E. Okay. This query here filters all the names where they end with an E. So We can see Fine and Grace as well. So where clause work. And the other thing is, really, if let's say these tables, and I'm just going to give an example here. Maybe table 1 represent your clients, and table 2 represent your suppliers. And as you can see here, Jean and Grace, they are both suppliers and clients. So a supplier can be as well as a client. And if that's what you want to return, maybe the type, you can still do union, and what you need is to add another column. Maybe you call it type. Okay, so in table 1, type will be maybe table 1 is client. You can say type for table 1 is client, and type for table 2 is supplier. So if you, as an analyst, they would ask you to return all the clients and the suppliers, you can execute this query here, and you will get your clients and the suppliers as well. And you can still order by name probably. So if you do this, execute again, you'll see Alex is the client, Evelyn is the supplier, and Fine is the client, and all that. And we do have another Fine who is a supplier. This will identify who is the client and who is a supplier. And you may include information like phone numbers, country of origin, as you can see, a country, and everything you need on that table. And that brings me to an end of my video, really. So what we did is we discussed about different types of SQL Union operators, where we do have union, union all, intersect, and except. Okay, and we went further to learn how to order by, or to sort the records in ascending or descending order. And to sort, by the way, to sort records in descending order, all you need is to type descending, and these records will be sorted by descending order. So we can do that. And also we learned how to use union operators with a where clause. So you can do a where clause like this, and you have to filter these records individually. So if you are setting up a where clause on both queries, this is what it's gonna look like. So maybe you're filtering all clients and suppliers that are coming from Germany, or their country is German. So you're gonna have to say where country equals to Germany here, or maybe Malaysia, or wherever it is. So these are the records from table 2, and you can see in table 2 we only have Fine, and table 1 probably do have Fine and Grace. And that's why when we do a union now, we get Fine twice, and as well as Grace. So if I do where name contains an E, so I'll get more records. But yeah, we've learned how to use a where clause in a union, where to use intersect. We've learned 3 different rules, and I hope this is very useful. We also learned how to curate, and I'm going to save this. But again, we learned how to and this I'm gonna say SQL Union Operator. We learned how to create a script or dummy data for our work. Okay, this will help you to really not just to create this dummy data, but you can do a lot of other dummy data with some other tables. I've seen people struggling most of the times where they either created the table, they have to delete the table, But at this point, really, you don't have to delete the table. Just check if it exists. When I said delete, I mean drop the table. Really, you can create. And if you want is to drop the table, you can really change this to if the table exists. So you're going to say if exists, and you're going to write the command to drop a table, which is drop table T1. So this should work, and should work for the database. If you want to drop the database, you can say drop database, and you can specify the database name here, which is this one. But again, if the intention is not to drop the database, please don't do that, or the table. Don't do that. Okay. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a nice day. Peace.